Hey guys, happy Sunday. It is Sharla Kornegay, aka Sharla K, come live to you guys with another Forever Friends Academy live. How are you guys doing? As per usual, I'm happy to be on here with you guys. Hopefully, you're having a restful Sunday and you can continue to have a restful Sunday with me, and I can get some of you guys on with me to have some great conversation about relationships. So while I wait to see who comes on with me, let me introduce myself as per usual. I am Sharla Kornegay. I'm the author. I'm an author, a recording artist, founder of Interask Coaching, as well as Forever Friends Academy, which is my subscription-based membership group coaching. And this is my show, Forever Friends, where we talk about all relationship topics. And my aim and mission is just to help people love to their fullest capacity. I am a full advocate of love, and I really do believe that developing a relationship that lasts a lifetime still is possible. So that's what you'll get from me. And of course, we'll talk about any type of relationship type of issues or topics of discussion, as well as things that are trending. But I usually always try to I usually always try to introduce the principles that last the test of time that you can apply to any relationship dynamic in any situation. And I have the church lounge. Oh my goodness, is that my sis Kayla Ray? Oh my word, I think it is. Hopefully I didn't mess it up. But if it is, oh my goodness, I missed you, sis. How are you doing? Thank you for popping in with me. All right, so you got those of you who are usually on with me, you know the drill. This is Sunday night relationship scenarios, where I put out a scenario and we dive in. We get to be the coach and the therapist, etc. And basically see if we can help these folks and learn some principles through it. But before I get into the meat of what we're going to be diving into tonight, I like to start off with icebreaker, because we can get kind of deep here sometimes. So I want to start with something light. Hey, Justin, how are you? First of all, Justin, I got your message. I looked at it very briefly because I was driving. But I played the beat you sent me, and I so appreciate it. I believe it's one that I did on Voicey, but no, nonetheless, I like it. I like it. So I will definitely be working on it. Oh, it is Kayla Ray. How are you, love? She said she's popping in real quick. You are definitely missed. Aw, thank you. I'm so glad you popped in. Enjoy your Sunday night. And so Justin, I love the beat. So I definitely will work on something. So I appreciate you. And I'm excited to hear the rest that you send my way. So we'll see if we can make some more magic like It's You on Christmas. All right. So I want to basically I have 2 icebreaker questions for you tonight. So I always like to kind of put out some questions, and I like to put out questions that for the people who are single, who are navigating, that dating space, some questions that you can possibly ask someone that hopefully will lead to a good conversation. Some people, when they're on dates, they feel like awkward, large moments of silence, and others don't want to ask certain questions to make it feel like it's an interview. So the first icebreaker question for tonight is, can you tell me one consistent misconception that people have about you? Can you tell me one consistent misconception that people have, made about you? And while I wait for you guys to answer that question, I also would definitely love to know, because I think it's helpful for the singles that I do talk to. Do you think the question that I just asked you, if someone asked you that, I'm going to put it in like 3 categories and let me know what your thoughts are. Do you think that, one, if somebody asked you that question, you were like, no. Would it like ring red flag in your in your mind? Or 2, would it be like, no, to wait, that person's asking me too much too soon? And 3rd, lastly, or would you be like, oh no, I'm intrigued by that question. Maybe it's something different you never heard before, or maybe it's just not a normative statement or question that somebody might have asked you. So how would that go? Which way would that, which way would that sway you? Because I think it's good to put out the question, but also I would love to get your feedback on what your thoughts are in like real time. If that's a question that you'd be, either you'd be like, no, red flag for whatever reason, or is it just too much too soon? And you're like, you're maybe trying to get in my business too soon. Or is it something where you're like, oh no, that's actually a very interesting question. And I'm intrigued to kind of, talk to this person, answer it, etc. So how would you feel about that? How would that, I guess, relate, hit you in regards to if someone was to ask you that question on a date or just having casual conversation to get to know someone? All right, so that is the first icebreaker question. Can you let me know one misconception, and a consistent misconception, because I think, many of us, we can misinterpret or not really understand a person fully, especially if it's a first encounter. You have to kind of get to know people to know who they are. So that's why I wanted to put the consistent, like what is one consistent misconception that people have, made about you that for whatever reason seems to come up. All right, so that's the first icebreaker question. And then the second one that I wanted to ask you guys tonight is, can you tell me something that you are rich in? Can you tell me something that you are rich in? And I know most of the times when people say rich, you just think about money. But there are many other riches in life. So, can you tell me something that you feel like you are rich in? And so those are the two icebreaker questions. And again, please, tell me and let me know whether you think those questions, if someone asked you questions like that on a date, or if you were just talking to someone and you wanted to get to know them, are those questions that if they asked you would be like, oh, wait, no, this is a red flag for whatever reason? Or would you say it's just too much too soon? Or would you be like, oh, wow, I've never quite had anyone ask me those questions, and I'm kind of intrigued to talk to you about it. So, and would that person, if they ask you that question, leave a lasting impression on you? So please, definitely, I'll wait and see, because I know you guys are typing, and sometimes that takes a while to see what you have to say on that, what your thoughts are. And of course, if anyone is catching the replay, please flood my feed and let me know what your thoughts are on that. While I'm waiting, I'll answer the question. So I have had many. Hey, Jack, how are you? I'm sorry, guys. I kind of always want to greet the people as they come in. So I know all of you guys aren't on the same platform. But let me repeat the question since Antoine just came in. How are you? It's been such a long time. It's been a while. Thank you for popping in. So I just put out some icebreaker questions. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. I put 2 questions out. It's not the topic of tonight. It's just to kind of start off the show. And the first question was, what is a consistent misconception that people have about you? What is a consistent misconception that people have about you, if any, I guess? And secondly, what are you rich in? Can you tell me something that you believe that you are very rich in? So that's the icebreaker questions. And I also asked the people who were on prior to you is, if someone asked you these 2 questions, which category, or how would it resonate with you? Would it be like, throw up a red flag for you for whatever reason, or maybe it's throwing up green flags, I don't know. But let's just say, is it, would it be like red flag for you if they ask you that question? Would it be maybe not a red flag, but you feel like they are maybe prying into your business too much too soon? Or would it be like a great green flag where it's like, oh, these questions are different? And I really haven't had anybody try to ask me questions like that from that angle. And so you feel intrigued to continue to have a conversation with that person and to get to know them. All right, so those are the icebreaker questions. And before Antoine came in. I was going to answer it while I wait for folks to give me some responses. I would say a consistent misconception about me is that I'm kind of, what's the best word to put it? I think people, because I think there are two consistent misconceptions that come up. There's a lot of misconceptions that come up about me now I'm thinking about it. But I guess the two that come to the forefront of my mind is, one, I'm really easygoing. I'm a very easygoing person. I'm kind of like, there's not too many things that, and if I say it like this, I don't want it to sound bad, but you know how some people are very meticulous and very detail oriented, and I love that. And a person like that has a certain way that they want certain things to go. I'm opposite, and I feel like I'm detail oriented in certain things, but I'm just saying in the grand scheme of life, there aren't a lot of things that are pressing to me, you know? So I kind of take life as it goes. And so even if I'm going through like pressureful situations or challenging situations, I kind of handle it with a very light heart. And because I'm like that, I think when people meet me, they think that I'm a person that's easy to kind of control or manipulate and things like that, because I'm very easygoing. Because usually, like if it's a group of friends or even in, you know, before I was married and I was in relationships, I was just very easygoing. It's not like, you know, where do you want to go? What do you want to eat? And things like that. It's like, you know, whatever, we can go wherever. I'm fine. I'm a content and satisfied person. So I don't need a lot, and I'm not picky in that way. So oftentimes people will read that the wrong way, and they will think that I'm a person that you can just easily control, until they find that out when there are certain things like core values, core beliefs that I'm just not going to move on. And so when we have an instance where those two roads kind of cross, and then it's like I'm not moving at all. You know, like I'm grounded in my belief, and I'm grounded in whatever decision I made, and that's it. And so it catches people really off guard, because they're like, how was she so easygoing? And then all of a sudden it seemed like, you know, she's not. And it changed. So I think that's one of the things that comes up. And I think another thing that oftentimes comes up for me is that people don't usually, what's the word? I'm trying to word this in the best way. I was going to say people don't usually think I'm as intelligent as I am, but I want to put more so wisdom into it, because I think that intelligence and wisdom can be different in some ways. There are a lot of people who are intellectuals and they're full of knowledge and things like that. I think more of my emotional EQ and mental aptitude and spiritual capacity to understand things comes from God's wisdom. So I think when people meet me, they are very surprised oftentimes the first time when they meet me, that, whoa, wow, the way that she understands things, or the ways that she articulates certain things, it's like, wow, I didn't expect that from her. So I think those are the two consistent ones that really come up. There are a lot of other ones, because I think my personality is not off the back. A lot of people sometimes tend to think it's one way, and then it is really not. So, but those are the two I'll say for now. All right, so we have an answer from Antoine coming in. Thank you, Antoine, for typing. I know sometimes it's like typing. All of those things take some time, so I so appreciate you. So 8Jack says, those are great questions. A common misconception that some people have about me is that I didn't get mad and have never gotten mad. Wow, really? So they think you're like the cool, what they say, cool as a cucumber type of person, which I think I'm like cool as a cucumber, which I think is shocking at first, but I do understand why some people think that. But I do get mad. No one is happy all the time. We all get mad, absolutely. But I don't have a temper or an anger problem. It takes a lot for me to get mad and upset at something. Yeah, and I could so understand that, Ajax, because honestly, when I read that statement, I literally had a flashback vision of your face when you used to do the voices. And I mean, that's why I used to love coming to your page or seeing when you posted a video, because it was just all smiles. It was all smiles that you would get from you, which is nice, especially when Voicey was so, when we had a lot of people on it during the pandemic and were all, on lockdown and couldn't move around. So it was, at least for me, it was very nice to see someone smiling and happy and, just feeling free and having a good time. So I guess I can understand why people would think that about you. But yeah, for sure. I think that's also, right, often a misconception for people who are kind of just mild tempered. They don't get easily angered, and I'm also like that. Like I said in the beginning, I don't get easily angered, easily flustered or aggravated. And I think, yeah, sometimes that could definitely make people think that I don't get angry at all, which is not the truth. I'm very much like you, especially if it's something that I'm very passionate about, or if I feel like I've been disrespected somehow, or have to stand up for something. Yeah, that's when that intensity and passion comes out. But it has to be something that I really do care about and is very connected to me. So I appreciate that. So he said he thought those were interesting questions. So I have feedback from Antoine. I think they are too. If I was on a date with somebody and they asked me those questions, I would say, definitely I would think it would come across as, okay, one, I think, it would make me think that that person was definitely a thinker and was thoughtful about what questions they were presenting me. And I think it would automatically make me kind of get into a certain mode of reflection to want to give a thoughtful answer back to them, which I think would leave or create an environment or atmosphere in the conversation or the date that they're having to dive deeper. So I'm glad. So definitely, if anybody is, single out there and dating, for sure, I'm going to do it often. I don't know if I'm going to do it every episode, but I definitely am going to give you questions that you can ask someone on a date, and then you pick and choose, or somebody that you want to get to know. It doesn't have to be a date. It could just be a casual conversation that you guys are having, that you want to get to know someone. And even if you're not, single, but you're a married couple or a couple, or even if you just want to have conversations with your friends, I think these are good questions to ask. So feel free. Thank you guys for your feedback. All right. So top of the podcast quote, because I always throw a quote out and then I usually throw a question that is connected to the quote tonight. But tonight I'm going to wrap it into the scenario that I have for you guys, the question. So the quote at the top of the podcast that you can tell me if you think that is something that you can, a mindset that you can take on and you can apply to your relationships, and it would help you, to be able to navigate and create a healthy relationship and grow in it. So the quote is, flirt with your emotions, don't marry them. Flirt with your emotions, don't marry them. All right, so that's the quote. I'll say it again. I like this one because it's kind of short versus some of the other ones that I've presented to you guys. So the quote tonight is, flirt with your emotions, don't marry them. And I'll probably add on. Well, no, I won't, because I just said it's short. And that would be counterproductive to what I just said. So I'm going to keep it like that, and then I'll just answer it. So first of all, do you guys think that's any kind of truthful statement, some gems in there that you can kind of extract to apply to your relationship? And again, the quote is, flirt with your emotions, don't marry them. So that is the quote for tonight. Do you think it's something that's a good mindset to have at the center of a relationship where you can build and develop emotional intelligence and aptitude to be able to navigate relationships in a healthy way. So that's the quote, folks. Let me know what your thoughts are. Float with your emotions. Don't marry them. And that is something that I say often, many times to, of course, my one-on-one clientele and in my group coaching. And I'm here presenting it to you guys. And it's been something that has helped me greatly, greatly. I think growing up younger, when I was younger, now I'm not easily flustered. Well, I guess back then also in childhood I wasn't, but for different reasons. But I appreciate, not but, and I appreciate this quote because it helped me as I grew out of my childhood into, becoming a young adult in adulthood, to be able to master my emotions rather than letting the emotions master me. And so I came up with that. That's a quote that I created to not only help my clients, but also help me being able to navigate the relationships that I have and that I keep. And so I will wait for your responses. I know it takes a lot of time to type. So when it comes in, I will definitely stop and read it so I can read your response and, of course, engage with you guys. But until you guys do that, I'll just continue to explain what that means. So basically, flirting with your emotions instead of marrying them means that you basically don't allow the emotions to master you. And I usually give an example that I love and that I've gotten strong feedback from, whether it's my one-on-one coaching or my group coaching, where people have said, I hear your voice in my head over and over again. And it's so helpful saying this quote when it comes to heightened moments of either sensitivity or heightened moments where the emotions are kind of erratic and all over the place. They say that they'll usually hear me saying that quote in their mind. And usually along with that quote, I will give a kind of visual example. So I tell my clients that when it comes to our emotions, I want you to just imagine that you're on a highway. You're on a highway, right? And you're seeing cars go past. And of course, we all know there are different types of cars. There are some cars that go really, really fast, like Maseratis and Porsche. And then there are other cars, that what I like to call like maybe putt-putt cars. And maybe some of you might have had one of those growing up. Maybe it was your first car. Many people, sometimes they can't afford a great first car. So it might be a car that's like, okay, it feels like this car is going to break down any minute now, but it'll get me to where I need to go until I, am able to get in another one. So I usually tell my clients, imagine that you're on this highway. And imagine that the emotions are like cars, right? And in life, when we have moments that are full of like just happiness and joy and things like that, sometimes those emotions are like, they're like when you eat sugar, in the morning you eat sugar and they tell you you need to eat a well-balanced breakfast because if you eat sugar, it's going to raise up. Push your, insulin, your sugar levels way up, and then you're going to crash. So basically kind of like when you have a good moment in life, it's a rush. It's amazing, but sometimes it feels like it goes by so fast, right? So imagine that the happy moments are like those are the moments that we desire to have over and over again. And, the other emotions that we deem to ourselves to not be pleasant and maybe we don't always want to go through, like sadness or shame, things like that. Antoine, I so apologize because he just said, can I join your live? And because I go live, what I will do, and this is what I've said I'm going to do, is I'll probably come back on after, because the program that I'm running this through, it's not through my phone like I used to go live on with you guys, to where I can have someone, and add them and join. I apologize for that because I know it'd be so much better if you can just talk, right? Rather than having to type. But unfortunately, I can't have you join. But what I will do is after we finish here, I promise I'll come back on and I'll be able to do that from my phone to talk for a little bit. I apologize. I know typing is a lot. So I apologize about that. Let me see if I can do something right now. Let me see if this will work. Now, Anton, you're making me think of something to see if I can do this and it will work. But until I figure it out. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so I'll do that, Antoine. But let me finish the statement. And of course, I'll give you guys the scenario for tonight. And then for anyone who wants to kind of jump on with me and we'll chat a little bit, I'll come back on. I appreciate you for being here with me. And he said he'll answer the questions then. Absolutely. Thank you, Antoine. Right, so basically, as I was saying, I'll tell them to envision that they're on a highway. The cars are like emotions. The fast ones, like the Maseratis, the Porsches, etc., allow, right, go really, really fast. They're thrilling. They go really fast. But then the other emotions that we don't, they're not pleasant to us. We don't like them that much. And so they just are like putt-putt cars. It's like, you feel like, will you pass already? Like, I cannot take this anymore. I so wish that this emotion that's driving me crazy, or dampening, and putting a damper on my spirits would just leave. But it feels like it's taking forever, right? And what I will tell them is that that emotion in that car wants you to hitchhike with it, right? It wants you to put your hand out, go in the car with it, and ride off, as they say in the movies, into sunset. But if it's certain emotions like shame, certain emotions like sadness, guilt, different things that, all of us have probably struggled with at one point or another from time to time. If we put our hand out and we go in that car, then what happens is usually the person, it's supposed to be a passing, right? I always say emotions are transient. So they're supposed to pass. They're really just supposed to be like delivery men and delivery women. They give you, messengers, basically. They're messengers to help you process your experiences in life. But they're supposed to be transient messengers. They're not supposed to stick with you. They're just supposed to be there to kind of like give you the message, help you to start to feel so you can connect with whatever you're feeling and then be able to act. And so I'll tell them, imagine that the car is there and just imagine that they are just going to drop the message off and then let that car keep passing. Do not open your hand. Do not stick your thumb out to hitchhike with it so that then the emotion can be mistaken like you are the emotion rather than it is just emotion that is passing by. So I'll just keep on reminding them, so that quote, flirt with your emotions, don't marry them. That's what it means. It means that, when you're flirting with somebody, that's not somebody that you're married to. I mean, unless you're a married woman and you just want to flirt with your husband, that's a different story. But I mean, flirting is something that's playful. It's not that serious. So if you can think of your emotions in that way, that it's something, no matter what the emotion is, whether it's the highest of high emotions that make you feel amazing or the lowest of lows, of emotions. The truth about both of those things is that if you treat it like it's transient, like it's going to pass, it will. But if you hold on to it, that's when it starts to become damaging to your soul and your psyche and, your life. I'll say, it'll cause emotional pollution in your life when you allow emotions like sadness, like guilt, like shame, or even anger, right? When you allow those things to, it's almost like a mistaken identity where you feel like you are that emotion because you have now connected yourself so deeply with it and you're not allowing it to do what it's supposed to do, which is just to be an indicator for you that you might need to look at something that's going on in your life and, use that emotion as a tool, which is what it is, to help you process what you're going through, but you don't keep it. And that goes for even the best things that we experience in life. The one truth about this life is that it's a temporary state that we are in, and we all go through the process, the full cycle of birth and death here. So things are temporal. So that's one of the blessings about being here and being a human and humanity, is that these things pass. So that means that if you are going through, I guess, experience a low point in your life, or feelings of depression or sadness and things like that, those things can pass if you let them. They only stay if you hold on to them. So that's the quote for tonight. That's why I say flirt with your emotions. Don't marry them. And the thing that I was going to add to it that I said I'm not, because I'll just explain it to you guys, is instead of, marrying your emotion, you just marry the truth. Flirt with your emotions, but marry the truth. Marry the truth and let the truth grow you. Let the truth set you free, as they say. Let the truth allow you to build your life solidly, so that when things happen to you, the emotions won't become your master, but you'll be able to master it and allow it to do what it's supposed to do, and then allow it to go, and then come again for the next round of life's challenges and life experiences. So I have wonderful feedback from Ajax in regards to some of the questions that I asked. So I want to give a moment before I tell you guys the scenario tonight to answer those. And welcome, Emily. How are you, beautiful? Thank you for popping in. I did put out some questions, icebreaker questions, before you came in. And the two icebreaker questions, if you want to answer them, because that's what Antoine is answering right now, is one, what is a consistent misconception that people have made about you, right? And then the second was, tell me something that you believe that you are rich in. Tell me something that you believe that you're rich in. And then I asked the people who are on with me to let me know, if someone asked you those questions, would you think, one, this is a red flag, I'm not feeling it for whatever reason, or two, would it be like, I feel like this person is asking for too much too soon, kind of like if they're too much into your business too early. Or third, do you think that it would be a green flag, and that, wow, these questions are different and I'm intrigued to continue talking to this person? So feel free to answer those. I'm going to read some of Antoine's answers, because he took the time so much to type them out. So Antoine says, one of the common misconceptions that some people have of me is that I don't... Oh, wait, no, I read that one. Hold on. Let me make sure I'm not reading the same thing. Okay, I want to make sure I'm reading the right ones. Okay, sorry about that, folks. I want to make sure I didn't want to read the same ones over. All right, so he said, I think that I am rich in being a great friend to people. So he's answering the second question. That is great. You know what? Especially in these times, Antoine. Oh, my goodness. You know how many people feel like they wish they had a genuine friend? So many people. Surrounded by, and they could be surrounded by a lot of people and still feel really alone and really disconnected. So that's great. And he said, helping people, giving them advice, checking on them, that is like a lost virtue in this time. So if you are rich in that, then you are a blessed, rarity. And for you to be able to have that and be able to do that, because I think for a lot of people, going through things is enough and taxing on themselves. So oftentimes they can't, or they don't feel like they can extend to another person. So if you're rich in that, then that means that clearly whatever life circumstances you've gone through does not prohibit you from having that capacity to serve many others, which is great. And he said to see how they are doing and not wanting anything from. That's another thing. Not wanting anything from them. That's a whole nother thing. Genuinely wanting to make sure that they are good, because calling and checking on people goes a long way and it makes people's day. Wow. Very good thing to be rich in, and very necessary. Very necessary. There's a scripture in the Bible says that there is a friend that's closer than a brother. And that's what it made me think of reading your answers. Because I think at the end of the day, no matter what titles we hold or what positions that we take on in people's lives, many of those, if not all of those positions, are more enriching when they are fueled by friendship, true friendship. So that's a great thing to be rich in, Antoine. Thank you for your answers. That really touched me tonight reading those. Hey, it's another one, Spark. How are you? Oh, no, you're good. There is no late. I always say I'm grateful anytime you guys pop in. So I'll say the questions because you don't really miss. Well, you missed a little bit. But I will repeat the icebreaker questions that I put out tonight because, I always like to hear your answers. So I'll repeat them again. The 2 questions that I put out was 1, what is a consistent misconception that people have about you? What is a consistent misconception that people have made about you? And the second one was what are you rich in? And I've been asking the participants on tonight to let me know if you were, on the dating scene and you're single and someone asked you those questions, would it, 1, kind of read as a red flag? Don't want to engage with them any further. 2, would it be like, too much too soon? It's not a red flag, but that person's getting in my business. Too much too soon. Or would it be just green flags? Like, okay, no, these are different questions and I'm really intrigued to continue talking to this person. So feel free to answer the questions if you want, and definitely let me know how it would read to you. So Emily answered the question, and she said, well, I've had somebody who thought I was intimidating, so he used to be scared of me. Really? Really? I can see that, though, Emily, only because, well, I know you, so I can just in looking at you, you're very mature. You have a very mature demeanor about you, a very mature essence. And so because I know you're younger, I think people or other students in your space would probably, maybe read that wrong about you. So yeah, okay, I can see that. All right. And she says, but sometimes I feel like my strength is that I'm a hard worker. Okay, so you feel like you are rich in someone who is a hard worker. I think that's great, because not everybody likes to, not everybody's disciplined, not everybody has good work ethic. And oftentimes people start things and can't finish them. So I think that's great. I think that's a great area to be rich in. And Antoine says, I think these are great questions and it will make people think, yeah, well, I think that's one of the things I'm rich in. I'm able to make people think about life in different ways. But that's why I answered the question I did for you guys earlier on as far as what people their misconceptions about me, as well as the thing that I feel like I'm rich in, and that's one of them. I feel like I'm rich in godly wisdom, and I think it makes you look at life and things differently, and so therefore I can kind of think of questions that allow people to reflect on life and themselves in different ways to kind of connect with that. So, hey, Plano, how are you? I don't know if you heard the question, and it's another one. Spark says, can you say the question again? I sure will, because I was just about to say it for Plano. So, tonight's questions are, what is one thing, right? What is one consistent thing that people have a misconception about you, What is one consistent thing that people, have a certain type of misconception about you. And the second one is name me one thing that you feel like you are rich in. One thing that you feel like you are rich in. So what is one consistent thing, that people either misunderstand or have made a misconception about you? And it's a consistent thing. I don't want it to be just like a one moment, just one consistent thing. And what do you believe that you are rich in? I've had some great answers. Antoine said he feels like people have consistently either misread, misinterpreted, that he doesn't get mad at all. Like, just because he has a mild temperament, and he does get mad. He doesn't have an anger problem, but he does get mad. But he is a very cool and calm, collected person, so people will kind of misconstrue that. And then he also said for what he's rich in, he said he thinks that he's very rich in being basically a genuine, thoughtful, authentic friend who's able to be there for people. Emily said that people have thought that she's intimidating, but she's not. She can come up to her and talk to her. She's friendly and kind, etc. And she said her strength, or what she's rich in, is that she's a hard worker, which all of these are great qualities. What I said was that people usually misconceive or have a misconception about me that I'm easy to control or to manipulate because I'm very easygoing. I'm friendly, I'm easygoing, and I'm warm, welcoming. And so it usually, oftentimes people will read that like, okay, that's a person you can kind of control her. And then they find out real fast that that is not the case. I just don't. There aren't many things in life that kind of fluster me, and I don't get like disheveled when I'm going through life experiences. But there are things that I find that I wholeheartedly believe in, and when those things come up, then I'm like an ox. Like, you cannot move me, because especially if I believe that they're backed by the truth of God and the wisdom of God, I'm not moving on it. And so that's when they usually find out, like, oh, wow, what I thought was all wrong. And like I said before, the thing that I think I'm rich in is wisdom, godly wisdom. Okay, it's another one. Spark says, people misconceive that they think that he's arrogant or that he's better than other people. Really? Wow. Okay, and he says, I'm rich in the Lord and my spiritual walk. Well, you know what I'm going to say. If you're going to be rich in anything, let it be that. Oh my goodness, it's Sims. How are you? You made me happy. I haven't seen you in a while. Wow. And Merrick, how are you guys? And it's another one. Spark says, aggressive, making music more even. Kill in life old. Wait, is that what you're rich in? Or, oh no, he's still, it's another one. Sparks is saying these are things that people still, they have a misconception about him, that he's aggressive, making music more even. Wow, kill in life. Wow. I know it has been a while. It's been a while. And I apologize, like, right now, because I'm using when I came back on my lives, I use a different program now when I go on live with you guys. So if you guys are asking me to join, I so apologize. I can't right now, but I did tell Antoine that after I come off here, I will come on my phone, because I know some people want to go on live with me to talk to me directly rather than typing, which I so appreciate that you guys are doing. But I will come on and kind of cap it off, and that way you can come on live with me. All right? So, I don't know, Merrick, and I'm doing good. Oh, he's not talking to me. They're talking amongst themselves, folks. I thought he asked me how I was doing. If anybody wants to know, I'm doing good. But feel free, yes, talk with each other. I want to restate the questions for I Am Sims and Merrick. it's not, I haven't even gotten to the scenario tonight, but these were just the icebreaker questions, but I'm glad that it's facilitating all these, responses. So the two questions that I put out were, give me one consistent misconception that people have made about you. What is one consistent misconception that people have made about you? And two, tell me one thing that you are rich in. Tell me one thing that you're rich in. And I present you these questions because I often have singles who ask me what kind of questions, that I can ask when I'm trying to get to know someone. I don't want it to be awkward. I don't want it to feel like I'm interviewing them, So give me some questions that I can kind of get to know someone's character, but it won't feel like we're both on an interview. And so I presented these questions tonight and definitely wanted you guys to let me know whether you thought the questions were like, okay, if you hear someone ask you that, is it like, this is a red flag, stop, do not pass, go? Or does it give you the feeling of, okay, it's not a red flag, but you're getting in my business too early, too soon, kind of too much too soon kind of questions? Or is it just all green flag? Like, yeah, these questions are great. Haven't heard someone ask me this. I'm very intrigued to kind of get to know you. So, I Am Sim said, when they mistake my confidence for cockiness, I can so understand that because I've had many conversations with you. I don't mistake that from you, but I can understand how people could. And when you said that, it reminds me of a statement, and I don't know if any of you guys saw it, but it's from Club Shay Shay, Shannon Sharp's podcast. And when he had, oh my goodness, I'm forgetting his name, but he played the father from Everybody Hates Chris. I'm forgetting his real name right now. Not as, acting, but he's an actor from Everybody Hates Chris. I think he was in The First Friday, etc. I hope that I can remember his name right now, but if I do, I'll say it. But he was on his podcast, and he basically said that it becomes like a bad thing if you start to state, right? Oh, Terry Crews. Thank you so much, Antoine, because I was literally drawing a blank. Terry Crews, yes, and I also agree. He said he's a great actor. He was basically saying that, when you start to, basically talk about how God has made you, right? And you boldly state that truth, it becomes a problem to people, when they don't care if you, are saying maybe what you're going through, right? Or like what the devil's doing, or different attacks and things that you have in your life. But once you start standing strong and stating all the things and knowing who you are in God, then all of a sudden it's a problem. So I thought about that when you said that, Sims. That's very true. And Sims said, no problem, Sims. He said, a good question you can ask is, when you came out of your last relationship, what was something you learned about yourself? Yeah, that's also a good question you can ask for sure. Absolutely. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a good question to ask too, for sure. Very good question. All right, well, feel free. Anybody else wants to answer those questions when the responses come in, I will definitely to say your responses and stop. But I want to dive into the scenario because it's already kind of getting late. We had a really good discussion on those icebreaker questions. But the scenario I wanted to pose to you guys tonight, so you can let me know what your thoughts are on this. All right. I'm so curious what you guys are going to say. So the scenario is, you have two people who are in a relationship, a man and a woman, right? They've been in a relationship for a while. They've been in a relationship for 2 years. And they are moving towards marriage, and they want to, basically get married, move in together, and, basically, hopefully live a happily ever after life. And they start to do like some coaching or counseling just to kind of, make sure that they are definitely ready for it and catch anything that might, prohibit the relationship from going on in a smooth way and stay healthy, basically. So one of the things that came up in the session that they were in was that the woman was asking the man that for him to get rid of some of the things that he has in his apartment from his last relationship that he still has. And and one of the items, just to let you know in this story, one of the items is that she focused on heavily was the bed that he had, right? And so she's like, she would like him to basically get rid of those items because she feels like, the energy, the things that were done on there are kind of still there, basically. And she doesn't want their new relationship to, I guess, be mixed with that. And he thinks that what she's asking is kind of unreasonable, because the reason why they're moving in together is because, their finances right now, and they don't really have it together to get a new place. But they are working together. The apartment is not going to be the main place that they stay. They're working to fine-tune their finances to get a house. So that's the scenario. There's, of course, she asked him to remove the bed, and there was also another item of an album that he had, or that he has, that it had a lot of pictures, because that was the first time that he basically went out of the country, and they took basically a European kind of trip where they went to, different places like London and Paris and etc. So he kept it because he wanted that memory for himself, not necessarily that he needs the pictures with her, but so it has different trinkets that he kind of picked up along the way in the book, as well as certain pictures where he's in front of certain landmarks. So those are the main two items that are like a problem. It's not necessarily there. Of course, there are appliances that are still there, that they bought together from his old relationship. But the thing that she's really focused more on is the bed and that album. So, what are you guys' thoughts are on that? Do you agree with the wife-to-be or the woman where she's like, I want those things gone because I don't really want to start what we have and enter into that space with you with, I guess, that old type of energy that's there, and definitely specifically a bed space. A lot of people view that as being a sacred space and things like that. So she feels like he should remove those. And even though that was his first trip, because there is a mixture of pictures with her, his ex, as well as those trinkets, he should be able to kind of chuck it. Or do you agree with the man where he's like, this is unreasonable. We're not going to stay here. We're building towards more, and financially, just to throw out the bed and get a new one because you don't want, I guess, possibly to think about other things that might have occurred between myself and someone else. It doesn't matter. I've been committed to you for all these, for these 2 years, and clearly I'm moving forward. So what do you guys think? This is a topic that comes up often. People will ask like what or talk about what are the things that you can keep in a relationship from the past versus should everything just be a clean slate. So what are your thoughts? What do you guys think about that scenario? So that's a scenario for today. Who do you agree with? Do you think, again, one on the woman's side, yeah, he can get rid of that bed, he can get rid of that album. It's not necessary. the bed is sacred space. You want any of that old energy into the new relationship, and they can take trips, do a European tour, and he can take those pictures with her and collect those trinkets again. I don't know. Do you think that? Do you agree with her? Or do you agree with the man in this scenario where it's like, this is not necessary? So basically, this is prohibiting them from moving forward in the fashion that they would like to, as far as coming together, moving in together, because she doesn't want to move in with him, until or unless he does that. Do you think that's a reasonable thing, or do you think it's more of a control? Should it not even be thought of? Is it even a necessary issue or a problem? Is it just, I don't know, unnecessary insecurity? Like, what are your thoughts on it? How do you guys feel about it? I think it's interesting because I do definitely feel like there are, and you guys can let me know if you guys have ever experienced this, but definitely I've went to certain places, different places that you go carry different vibes. Normatively, it's usually because of the people who clearly are in it, right? In that environment, the wood and whatever else that area is made of. It's really the people who are living a certain lifestyle, living a certain way that creates what they believe in, things like that, creates certain scenarios, or certain vibes, certain energy that you can pick up. So that's a real thing, right? That's literally a real thing. So I understand her point of view from that standpoint. But then I also understand how that can be kind of a sign of insecurity in a way as well, especially when it comes to maybe not so much the bed, but definitely when it comes to the album that he's had, and her feeling like he has to throw that completely away when it's meaningful to him in other ways, not necessarily that he's just like keeping the pictures for or hoping that that relationship will come back around again. So I understand it from both points of views. So let me know what your thoughts are. Are you guys thinking about it? Hopefully I have some of you guys still with me on it, because I would love to hear your responses. And anybody catching the replay, please flood my feed and let me know what your thoughts are on that, and how would you handle it to be able to, kind of resolve their situation. So I'm going to give a moment and see if I get some answers. And in between, while I'm waiting to see if I have any responses, if you have been watching and listening, definitely please do like, comment, and subscribe if you are on YouTube. My YouTube channel is Forever Friends Academy. If you're on any of the other platforms, IG, Facebook, Twitch, etc., feel free to subscribe to that channel, because that's where all of my full videos are. The rest of the platforms, I just post snippets. But if you want to know when I'm coming on, if you want to hear the full videos, the lives, definitely subscribe to the channel. And please share to anyone who you feel like would benefit from this content that I'm throwing out, that really want to learn about relationship skills and learn about relationships. That's where my heart is. I definitely want to help people develop long-lasting relationships and still believe in love, and show up in the world, showcasing all of who they are. It's necessary. So the relationships goes beyond just intimate relationships. It's your relationship, fortifying your relationship with your creator, God, yourself. It goes in any relationship dynamic. We talk about the principles that you could use. So feel free, definitely, if you know of people who would like this, let them know. I come on every Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Sunday evenings as well. So forget, it was like a little commercial break. That's what that felt like. Back to our regular program now. All right, so I've gotten some answers. I was just trying to give people some extra chances to write. Because listen, typing, it takes a while, especially if you type like me. I'm like the one finger bandit or two fingers. Anyway, so Antoine says, I have not experienced this. And that's a good thing, Antoine. It's a good thing you haven't. But to answer this question, I agree with the man. Because if he is with you and wants to marry you, then that means that he's serious. He's committed to you. Beds are expensive. They are. They really are. I was just talking about someone. I really was just talking about beds and how expensive they are. Just like literally, I don't know whether it was today or yesterday. It was yesterday, really, because they really are. And really good ones, too, are very expensive. And he says, and take time to get especially the right one. He shouldn't have to throw away the entire album because that's his first trip outside the country. Your first trip outside the country, you will never get back. And you want memories to look back on. Okay, so I want to state that Antoine is a man. I think it's great to know who's answering the question and maybe what angle they're coming from. So he is thinking that there are certain things that are not replaceable, and it doesn't really have anything to do with him still having old feelings for his ex, but that this is something that he literally took the time to put together and he wants to keep. And as far as the bed, it should be a very minute thing because the man in the scenario, is showing that he is truly committed and making the full-hearted commitment to marry her. So the issue of the bed should be kind of an expendable issue that doesn't need to take precedence. So, okay. So that's one point of view so far. I'm curious to see if people have other points of view. Do you think no? Anybody else think no? The opposite, like they can get an air mattress, It doesn't need to be. Yeah, right. Let me ask Antoine that. What if what if in this scenario the lady says, you can just get an air mattress. Like we don't need to get like a full, real bed. We can just get an air mattress for a little while until we save up our ducats and then we get the real bed. Would you be okay with that? And maybe if he keeps his album, what I was thinking, like he can keep the album, but maybe not display it. Maybe it's something that comes out or comes up if, of course, there may be family members or friends come over and then you're in a conversation and, of course, you might express certain experiences you've had in life. And if that comes up, then that album can come out, maybe something like that. I was thinking that could be a way that they can kind of resolve that scenario. And then what I presented to you, Antoine, like, what if she said that, he'd probably like, no, I'm going. This is my guess, guys. I don't know. I'm gonna wait until he responds. But maybe he's like, well, I'm gonna throw out I don't know how much this guy paid for it. I didn't think the scenario that deeply through to figure out how much he paid for this bed. But, if he paid a lot for the bed and it was expensive, he might not want to just throw that out and deal with an air mattress. Antoine says, if she asks to get an air mattress, I would get an air mattress because the ones that I've slept on are comfortable. Oh my gosh. I absolutely adore Antoine. He like, listen, you want to get an air mattress? We could do that. He's right. And this, those, you could get really good air mattresses. He's right. Like the ones that are really high and they self-inflate. Yeah, there's definitely levels to the air mattress thing. So, okay. So he's not against doing that, right? Until they can kind of save up what they need to save to be able to fully, get their own And he said for the album, he should definitely keep it, but not show it. Okay, so we agree on that. And look at the album when he's alone, possibly, or like what I said, right? When maybe there are family and friends over and you're just, maybe possibly having a conversation, which sometimes does happen, right? Where you're topics of what you've done or where you've traveled or where you've gone in the past, and maybe, right, it can come out, but just so that she feels secure in that way. I don't think there's any harm in that because they're, trying to start their new home that is made of both of them, right? Their energy, their spirits coming together. So I think I like that. I think that's a good resolve. I think if I was their coach or their therapist, that is something that I would introduce to them to help kind of resolve their issue. And hopefully, they both can kind of come to and meet together there and aren't so hung strong, like really stubborn with it to say, no, we need a new bed, not an air mattress, needs to be something I can sleep comfortably on, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that's a way to resolve it. Thank you, Antoine. I like your answers, and I agree with it. I always, when I have, and I thought about this scenario and I thought about so many different ways that I could have presented it. And I think the best relationships and the most healthy ones is where we don't let insecurity run the relationship, and I think when it comes to decisions, one of the ways that we can kind of process what the best decision is to make sure that what is the source of the decision making, or what is the source behind what that person is saying, and sometimes in this particular scenario, it didn't seem like insecurity was running what was being requested, but sometimes it is, right? And we don't want to, appease a person's insecurities. And don't get me wrong, all of us, right, have insecurities in certain, times and spaces and aspects in our life. But the people who, are people like Antoine, where he said he's rich in being a genuine friend and being there for someone, the people who are in our life that are like assets and that are people who help to grow us are the ones that don't appease our insecurities, but acknowledge that it's okay and it's a human process for us to go through, but to go beyond our fears or be able to process as to why we are insecure about something, and then prayerfully help hold our hand and guide us to where we know that we can go beyond the insecurity and really stand in understanding who you are and understanding that whatever God has for you, he has for you, and it cannot be taken away, and that you and your own doubts and your insecurities should not block it, So I think when it comes to situations, especially things like this in this area that we were talking about, as far as what needs to be removed, et cetera, from a relationship, if the ideal scenario of them starting and, maybe having their own home or going into their own apartment and it's new, if that's ideal scenario is not there, I think going through the process, like what Antoine said, is to kind of look at the receipts. Basically, that's how I usually say it to my clients, is look at the receipts, look at the evidence in the relationship, look at the fruits as far as this person who has been here with you in this committed relationship. It hasn't been fruitful. Have you been growing? Have they, been true to their word? And so when that's there, then there are certain things that if an issue like this comes up where that's weighted more, and that we don't want to dismiss the relationship or make minor things major when they're not necessary. So I appreciate you, Antoine. Those answers were great. He says, yes, I agree with you 100. Insecurity is huge. Don't let that lead you or control your decisions. Absolutely, especially in relationships. And that's such a thing that happens all the time, because in our relationships, we have to be vulnerable to grow. It's honestly, there's no way you can be in a real, authentic relationship with true connection and love and all the things that we talk about here without being vulnerable. But I think when we start to open up to become vulnerable, then insecurity, will try to come in and thwart that process. And sometimes people will mistake the vice versa, insecurity for vulnerability, and instead of getting fully vulnerable, maybe the insecurity might come in. So I think definitely there are many times where the insecurity is what's running the relationship, and usually it runs its course, and then people find out, and it's like, oh, all the things that I was catering to or appeasing, it just kind of created an even bigger monster, right? Because it was feeding the insecurity where I thought that possibly I was just kind of giving that person what they wanted or meeting their needs, when it wasn't that. You were literally just feeding, the insecurity. And of course, that's going to come back to bite us in the butt, in a great big way in the end. So I appreciate it, but I appreciate you guys. Great conversation today. Like, from the icebreakers on, you guys, thank you for definitely fully engaged with me. Thank you for taking the time, especially Antoine, the time to type, because I know it takes a time to do that. So I appreciate you guys. I always say you could be anywhere. So the fact that you stopped in here with me, I am so grateful. Thank you. So I will be on next Thursday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I come on every Thursday and Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, if you liked anything I said, it resonated with you, please, it would be very kind of you. It'll help me out to get this good content that feeds your soul and your spirit, not only on the YouTube algorithm, but for other people to hear it. So if you have friends, if you have family that you feel like would benefit from this, please let them know. Tell them a woman who's talking about relationships and thinks she's talking about a really good, they help you reflect, etc. And let them know, and definitely like the YouTube channel. And I'll keep bringing videos like this to you. So you guys have a lovely, lovely night. And as I told Antoine, I'm going to come back on and kind of chat with them so that they can join in the live for a few minutes just to kind of wrap it up. And if anybody has questions, they can ask me on that. All right. So until next time, as always remember to live to love freely. Until I speak to you guys next time on Thursday. All right. Bye, guys.